Have you ever wondered if one ordinary animal could quietly change the course of human history? Not a lion, not an eagle, not even a horse. A fish, cold, gray, and almost invisible beneath the waves of the North Atlantic. For thousands of years, they were looking at one of the people sailed past it without realizing. Greatest natural treasures on Earth. It wasn't beautiful, it wasn't rare, it didn't inspire legends or decorate royal palaces. Yet this humble fish-fed kingdoms launched dangerous voyages across unknown oceans, built prosperous ports, strengthened powerful empires, and helped shape the future of North America. Its story isn't just about food, it's about exploration, survival, trade, technology, war, and one of the greatest environmental warnings in human history. Let's travel back thousands of years, long before nations existed, before maps covered the oceans, and before anyone imagined that a simple fish could influence the destiny of the North Atlantic. Is one of the harshest oceans on Earth. Civilizations. Its icy winds can whip the sea into towering waves. Thick fog appears without warning, hiding entire coastlines from sight. Winters are long, dark, and unforgiving. For ancient sailors, these waters were both terrifying and mysterious. Yet beneath those cold waves lived enormous schools of Atlantic cod. Every year, millions of these fish gathered over underwater banks and shallow shelves rich in nutrients. The ocean floor became one of the most productive ecosystems on the planet. Tiny plankton fed small fish fed cod, and the cycle repeated season after season. For coastal communities, these migrations were nothing short of miraculous. Families that struggled through brutal winters suddenly had access to an abundant source of protein. Villages that depended on hunting and farming discovered that the sea itself could provide a reliable harvest. But catching fish was only half the challenge. The real problem was keeping it fresh. Without refrigeration, food spoiled quickly. Fresh meat lasted only days. Fish spoiled even faster, especially during warmer seasons. For ancient civilizations, preserving food often meant the difference between survival and starvation. Fortunately, Atlantic cod possessed a remarkable natural advantage. Unlike oily fish, cod contains relatively little fat. That single biological feature made it perfect for preservation. When cleaned, salted, and carefully dried, the fish could remain edible for months, and in the right conditions even much longer. Suddenly, food no longer had to be eaten immediately after it was caught. It could travel, it could be stored, it could support long journeys across oceans that once seemed impossible to cross. This simple discovery quietly transformed human civilization. As communities mastered the art of preserving cod, they unknowingly created one of history's earliest forms of portable fooder, product that could feed explorers, merchants. Long before giant empires ruled the oceans, survival depended on preparation. Every voyage into the North Atlantic was a gamble. Sailors faced freezing winds, violent storms, hidden reefs, and weeks without seeing land. A single mistake could leave an entire crew stranded hundreds of miles from home. Food was often the greatest challenge. Fresh meat spoiled quickly, bread became moldy, and clean drinking water was limited. Any crew planning a long expedition needed food that was lightweight, nutritious, and capable of surviving months at sea. Preserved Atlantic cod became one of the greatest solutions ever discovered. Properly salted and dried, it remained edible long after other foods had spoiled. It could be stacked deep inside a ship's hold, transported across oceans, and prepared whenever fresh supplies ran low. This dependable food source quietly expanded humanity's reach across the sea. Communities along the northern coasts refined fishing techniques year after year. Experience passed from one generation to the next. Better boats, stronger ropes, and improved navigation slowly allowed fishermen to travel farther from shore. As confidence grew, familiar coastlines disappeared behind them. What began as seasonal fishing, expeditions gradually evolved into longer voyages of discovery. Some sailors returned with stories of rich fishing grounds beyond the horizon, places where cod gathered in astonishing numbers. Whether every tale was true hardly mattered. The possibility of finding endless supplies of fish encouraged captains and merchants to keep searching. Soon, commercial opportunity became just as important as survival. Ports that once served small fishing communities transformed into busy centers of trade. Merchants purchased preserved cod in enormous quantities and shipped it to distant markets, where reliable food was always in demand. The fish itself became more than a meal. It became a valuable commodity, capable of supporting families, financing voyages, and encouraging exploration into waters that many people had once feared. Generations of fishermen were laying the economic foundations for a new era of global trade. The cold waters of the North Atlantic were no longer viewed as empty wilderness. They had become one of the world's greatest natural resources, and the race to control those resources was only beginning. As more ships returned safely from the northern seas, confidence spread from one port to another. Fishing was no longer viewed as a seasonal occupation. It had become a dependable business, capable of supporting entire communities. Harbors that were once quiet villages transformed into thriving centers of commerce. New docks stretched into the water. Warehouses rose along the shoreline, and shipbuilders worked almost year-round to meet growing demand. Every successful voyage encouraged another. Merchants invested in larger vessels that could travel farther, carry more cargo, and remain at sea for longer periods. Skilled navigators improved their charts, while experienced captains passed their knowledge to younger generations eager to follow the same routes. Along the coastline, thousands of families found work connected to the fishing industry. Some built ships. Others crafted ropes, barrels, sails, and wooden tools. Many never sailed at all, yet their livelihoods depended entirely on the steady arrival of fishing fleets. Trade expanded beyond nearby markets. Preserved cod traveled hundreds, then thousands of miles from the cold waters where it had been caught. It reached inland towns, distant kingdoms, and regions where fresh seafood was almost impossible to obtain. With every voyage, maritime trade became more organized. Ports developed schedules. Merchants formed partnerships, and governments gradually recognized the growing economic value of the northern fisheries. What had once been a simple source of food was becoming one of the most valuable commercial resources in the Atlantic world. The sea was no longer just a frontier. It had become the foundation of an expanding economy whose influence would reach far beyond the coastline. For generations, the Atlantic seemed to offer an endless promise. Each season brought fresh schools of cod to the northern waters, and every successful voyage strengthened the belief that nature's bounty could never be exhausted. Fishing communities prospered. New ports expanded along the coastline. Trade routes connected distant markets, and maritime knowledge passed from one generation to the next. The cod had become more than a valuable catch. It supported families, created jobs, encouraged innovation, and linked nations through commerce. Yet beneath this remarkable success, a quiet danger was beginning to grow. As ships became larger and fishing methods improved, people could harvest more fish in a single voyage than ever before. What once depended on patience and human effort gradually became faster, more efficient, and far more powerful. At first, the changes seemed like progress. Larger catches meant greater profits, more food, and stronger economies. Few people questioned whether the ocean had limits. For centuries, the North Atlantic had appeared almost limitless. But every natural resource has a balance. When more is removed than nature can replace, even the richest ecosystem begins to weaken. The story of Atlantic cod reminds us that prosperity and responsibility must always exist together. History is filled with civilizations that flourished because they respected the resources around them, and others that paid a heavy price when they ignored nature's warning signs. The future of the oceans depends not only on advanced technology, but also on wise decisions. The same seas that once transformed human history continue to provide life for millions of people today. Whether they remain healthy for future generations depends on the choices we make now. The story of cod is not only about the past, it is also a lesson for the future.